Hello friends, for some reasons I could not provide you my Indian Constitution lecture yesterday, but I am going to continue my series. For this sorry, because yesterday I could not provide you my lecture. I have told you already I have started a Constitution series for all examination for those who are English medium student. Yesterday I have taught you Regulating Act, and you can see my first lecture in Constitutional Development of India. In first lecture, Constitutional Development of India, I have given a lecture about the Regulating Act, because this is the starting of the Constitution of India. Because I have already told you, without reading the Constitutional Development of India, we cannot realize the root of the Indian Constitution. So it is necessary to know all these acts that were presented in the British era. So first I am going to continue my series. After studying the Regulating Act, now we will study about the Act of Settlement, which is another important act after Regulating Act. So here the question arises, what is the main purpose of the Regulating Act? Because behind every act there is some purpose. So what was the purpose behind the Act of Settlement 1781? I am repeating again, after 1773 Act, I am going to teach you the Act of Settlement. This is another important lecture of Constitutional Development of India. So now I am going to continue. So come to the point. I have taught you about Regulating Act, and I have mentioned all the reasons and circumstances in which the Regulating Act has been presented. But now I am going to teach you the Act of Settlement. This is the another Act of Settlement. So the first reason, what was the reason behind the Act of Settlement? The reason behind, because after the Regulating Act, a confliction was started between Governor General and Supreme Court. Listen carefully. After the implementation of the Regulating Act, a confliction was started between Supreme Court and Governor General. So now you can ask me question, so what kind of confliction started between Supreme Court and Governor General? Now I am going to make you understand that there were some shortcomings in the Act of 1773. Dispute started between the Governor General and the Supreme Court. The conflict between the two increased due to lack of clarity of jurisdiction. In the whole lecture, there is only one thing that describes the cause of confliction between the Supreme Court and Governor General is the lack of clarity of jurisdiction. Due to the lack of clarity of jurisdiction, they started conflicting with each other. So I will make you understand clearly what kind of confliction started. First of all, after 1773, another problem arose that the decision given by the Supreme Court were interfering with the religious customs of the Indians. The first point of this, that the first reason bringing the Act of Settlement was that the Supreme Court started interfering in the religious sentiment of Hindus and Muslims. That's why Supreme Court became a bone of dispute among Indians and Supreme Court. Indians were started complaining that Supreme Court is interfering in their religious sentiment while giving the decision. And the second was that the Governor General and Supreme Court started giving different decision in same matter, because there was no clarity of jurisdiction. Supreme Court and Governor General started giving different decisions in same matters. That's why it was necessary to avoid this lacuna, this weakness. British government had to introduce the Act of Settlement. The main aim of this Act of Settlement was to remove the weakness and shortcomings of Regulating Act. Under this Act, laws made by the Governor General and his Executive Council were excluded from the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. First point was that jurisdiction was decided. It was made provision that the Supreme Court will not interfere in the decision and law made by Governor General and Executive Council. Because this was the main point of confliction, that the Governor General and Executive Council had complained many times that the Supreme Court is interfering in the matter of company's revenue and company's decision. That's why, to avoid the confliction, it was made provision that the decision taken by Governor General and his council would be excluded from the jurisdiction of Supreme Court. So this is the first point which make it clear that to avoid the confliction, it was necessary to decide the jurisdiction of Supreme Court and Governor General. I am focusing the main point, I am focusing many times that it was very necessary to clear the jurisdiction of Supreme Court and Governor General. That's why it has been made provision that Governor General and his the law made by Governor General and Executive Council would not come under the purview of jurisdiction, would not come under the purview of Supreme Court jurisdiction. Second point is that the company's revenue matter were taken out of the purview of the Supreme Court. The company's matter were totally excluded from the purview of Supreme Court. It means like the decision taken by Executive Council and Governor General, the revenue matter were also be excluded from the jurisdiction of Supreme Court, and all the company's revenue matter would be handled by the only company, not by the Supreme Court. Third point is that provision was made that the Supreme Court should keep in mind Indian customs and religious sentiments while giving verdict. I have told you already that this was the point that the dispute was arising in India, that Supreme Court was interfering in the religious sentiments of Indians. Okay? That's why it was made provision that the Supreme Court should keep in mind Indian custom and religious sentiment while giving verdict. It means whenever Supreme Court give decision, it will not interfere in the religious sentiment of the Hindus and Muslim. So it was a very short act, but you can say, sir, what is the sum and substance of this act? The sum and substance or conclusion of this act is that there is two conclusions. First conclusion is that the jurisdiction was decided. The jurisdiction has been decided. It means that the Supreme Court jurisdictions and what is the jurisdiction of Governor General, it has been cleared, because Supreme Court will interfere only in the criminal issues, not in the revenue issues of the company. Second was that religious sentiments of the Indian should be given importance. It means this is the conclusion of the Act of Settlement. So I have told you two acts, the Regulating Act and Act of Settlement. Now it is also necessary to revise the Regulating Act. Revision. Why revision is jaruri. Why revision is necessary? Because revision make you able to connect all these acts. So in every lecture I will also revise the lecture given in previous point. Okay, first of all is that what was the act of 1773? Under this act Supreme Court was established, and second was that Governor General of Bengal was made the Governor of Bengal was made the Governor General of Bengal. Third was that companies employee will not carry on private business without license. Okay, these were the points that I have taught you already in previous lecture. And another new point that I forgot to mention you was that the term of board of directors were increased from 1 to 4. When company was established, the term of board of directors was 1 year, but in 1773 Act, the term of board of directors were increased from 1 to 4 years, and companies employees will not carry on private business without license. And it was also mentioned that the company employee without license cannot start their private business. This is the point of Regulating Act. Some point may be new, you should note it down, and as far as possible you should try to make the connection between the Regulating Act and 1781 Act. As far as my capability concerned, I have tried to make you understand that what is the importance of Regulating Act and 1781 Act and what was the reason behind all these acts. I hope you will like my lecture, and next day I will provide you another act concerned with this topic. Okay, thank you very much.